Hi Cesar, how are you?
How are you? Long time no see.
Long, long time, long time. God, it's years, yeah.
Yes,
Um, Great to see you though, yeah. You're keeping well.
right. We never made the interview, remember?
I know, I don't know what happened. I think it was the timeline. I totally got it uh mixed up. I don't know what was going on there. Yeah, the timeline I got mixed up, yeah. Yeah. So
In Thailand at the moment.
huh?
I think I was living in Thailand at the moment, and there was the whole story of having to move to Venezuela, and I was quite busy, so we couldn't. Maybe now we can do it. Not today, I mean, but
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah. Yeah. You're traveling around a good bit now. So are you settled in Venezuela now?
yes, yes.
Good. Good. Um, well, I cut to the chase where I am, okay? So lots of things have happened in the last few months. I've been on the search, but previous to that, I had various experiences, the mind exploding in bliss as such and all this stuff. And I went to Karen's in Berlin, and something happened there. I don't know what, but there's and I kind of felt something anyway, but lots of things happened. And when I came back from Berlin, I just felt different. There was like some sort of clarity. It's like I knew something was different, but I wasn't sure. It's like, did I lose something? It's like you're going down the road and you're kind of wondering, did I lose my keys? You know, did I lose? Um, and so then I just started listening to various YouTube videos, and Gangamera came up. She was mentioned to me in Berlin. She just stuck in my mind and started listening to her. And every question I had was answered by every YouTube video. It was like this was ready to hear. It wasn't really that it was something supernatural. It was I would think I was ready just to soak it. It was heard. It was alive. And so various things happened there. My mind kind of went exploded again. I had this satori when I was asleep, and I saw a white light. And I thought if I saw it, then it's the eye that saw it. So look, where I am now is I just want clarification. There's it's as if there's no mind. Um, and I've been waking up going, okay, is the mind going to do something today? And nothing happens. Deeds are done. There's no doer. Effortlessly, things are done or not done. It doesn't matter because there's no decision to be made whether they're done or not. So, um, it, it's just total clarity, and it's unshakable. Um, and it's totally restful in itself. Um, I mean, even the way the eyes look around, there's no decision in this. It just happened. Um, John isn't there. I know that. There's no John. Um, so, like, I just wanted to know how he could clarify it for me somehow.
See, if the ego is gone, the question will simply not arise.
Well,
This,
that's it. The question, I can make the thought, there's nothing happening here whatsoever, right? And now I could decide as such, and I can't even say I'm doing that, but now it's happening. Think, who am I? And who am I will appear here, and it's nothing. It doesn't. It's nothing. It doesn't stick to any other. I was doing this inquiry in the shop. It was a unique thought that came to me. It was, does that know that I am? Okay. And I remember at the time there was some sort of separation because that question occurred. Now it's like it's the total opposite. It's like I am that, or I. There's no separation in the mind with thought. There's no oh, like like things will be done, but there's no thought that comes up to be seen to do them. There's no afterthought, there's no pre-thought. There might be a thought of, oh, did I pick? And it's like it's just seen, it means nothing. Um, so
So,
there isn't even a doubt.
hmm. If the ego is gone, body identity is gone. Ego is body identity.
Well, that's the thing. The body's there,
Yes.
okay, and I know the body's there, but there isn't a thought coming up going, I know the body's there, and there's this, am I the body? And that's not happening.
It is known,
Well, the body's there, yeah.
definitely. Body consciousness is there, but body identity might not be there.
Body identity mind, is it?
Body identity, body consciousness is there,
Yeah.
but body identity might not be there.
Yeah. That sounds nearer to where I am.
It is obvious. It's like if I see my hands and I see the sweater, I don't see the difference between the hand and the sweater. The sweater is an object, and the mind is an object, and the body is also an object. And there is no thought that says, this is I, this is me.
No, no,
Correct.
no.
And even as I see my body as such, when thought occurs, there are seen in the same way.
The which?
They are seen in the same way as an object.
Yeah.
Like, so the body is an object, it's a gross object, and the mind is an object, it's a subtle object. And even if you start feeling some energy, then the energy is also an object.
Yeah.
And there is consciousness, which is not a subject, but we have to, I use the word object just for the sake of explanation, right?
Yeah.
So consciousness is neither a subject nor an object.
That's right.
It simply is.
Yeah.
In terms of seeing the light must be also an object. It must be seen by something.
Hmm.
So consciousness cannot be seen.
No,
So to see consciousness means to be consciousness. To know it is to be it.
I can't say I am it.
Sorry?
I cannot say that I am consciousness.
You can say it, but you know it without saying it. Before you say, I am consciousness, you know I am consciousness. That knowledge gets reflected in the mind.
Well, that is more true than me saying that there's a body.
Sorry?
Being consciousness, it seems more true than me saying I have a body.
Yes. Well, from consciousness point of view, that is to say, from the absolute point of view, everything is consciousness, everything is I, because you cannot separate anything from consciousness, therefore everything is consciousness. If you've been with Carl
Yeah.
saying, I know him personally, he's a very good friend of mine.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, yeah. He's he's funny.
Yeah. And he says, I don't know what I am, I don't know what I am not. What he means is that I don't know what I am because what I am, I don't know. What I am is what I am. See? So I cannot know myself, I can only be myself. And when he says, I don't know what I am not, is because everything else is also what I am, is consciousness. See? I don't know what I am because what I am is cannot be known. See? It is known by being it. Hmm? And I don't know what I am not, okay, because nothing is separate independent from myself, or I alone am. The I is the one without a second. There is no second entity called world, Maya, illusion, or whatever. In that state, the so-called natural state, the illusion is not perceived as separate, independent from reality, see, which is what I am really. See, what I am really am reality. Make sense?
That part doesn't. So what you're saying is everything is that,
Mhm.
including objects.
Yes.
Everything is consciousness.
We
That's
might,
not the experience I have.
yeah, this is the self, and
Yeah.
this is the illusion. But how can you separate the illusion from the self? How can you separate the image from the phone? It is the phone. You can say there is an image in the phone, but the image is the phone. It's included in the phone.
So I'm included in this total consciousness.
Not you, everything else. This is the point that we are getting it. Okay, there is something there that still is tingling. Okay,
Mm.
I know it by feeling it. The only way that I can speak about this with someone is because I have to become the someone. Because otherwise, anybody will come and tell me, I realize the self, and I can be fooled, and I can leave that person with an idea of self-realization. Even the realization was true, the ego may come back, okay, and claim to be the experiencer of realization.
Mm-hmm.
You said something very important, okay, because you say I am included in that. It's the other way around. You are that, and everything else is including within you. See? So the self alone is means the image is not separate from the self, from the phone, right? So the image appears and disappears, right? In fact, the image is there. It's just in a latent potential state. It's not manifested. That this is deep sleep and this is the awakened state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of them, people speak about appearing in consciousness, arising from consciousness, uh, dissolving in consciousness, witnessed by consciousness. But this is because they believe that this is a second entity, the image. See? Otherwise, in reality, there is nothing that arises, nothing that it is sustained, nothing that it is witnessed, because who is witnessing what, right? If it is only one, and what dissolves into what when consciousness alone is, right? Make sense now?
Sort of. Yeah. So there's body identification, really.
Even the ego or the sense of separation doesn't exist separate from consciousness.
So it doesn't matter.
Uh, it doesn't matter from the absolute point of view, but as long as the ego is present, we cannot say so because we still are affected by phenomenon.
This is nearly a worse place to be than I was.
Huh?
Because I've nothing to work with. I can't even meditate, so I don't know what to do.
You don't do anything.
Nothing at all.
What you are doesn't consciousness doesn't do anything.
That's the thing.
Thus, consciousness is neither doing nor not doing. Consciousness simply is.
So
All,
what do I do? I
all,
mean,
all these universes are a play of the mind. Not of people say it's a play of consciousness. Consciousness doesn't do anything. All of this is mind appearing, playing, and disappearing, going from manifest state to unmanifest state, from unmanifest state to manifest state. Manifest state, it appears as waken and dreams. And unmanifest state appears as deep sleep. Total ignorance, deep sleep, and total knowledge, awakened state. So consciousness is beyond ignorance and knowledge. It's beyond this and that. It's beyond dyads and triads. So what we feel is that we are doing nothing. The body activities
Um,
spontaneously. If thought is necessary,
Hello?
hello, can you hear me? I think I
Seem
got,
to lost you.
yeah. So the experience is like body activities goes on spontaneously. I think I have problem with the internet again. Yeah, my
Sorry, I lost you there, Caesar, I think.
yeah, I'm here. I just there has been some issues with internet recently.
Okay, so with this clear mind thing, and so there's an ego involved, so still.
No, there is not so. This is not about clear mind. The, the understanding is clear and it gets reflected in the mind. Okay, the mind cannot have the experience of enlightenment.
No,
The mind cannot experience the self.
no.
Only the self reveals itself by itself to itself when the mind merges in the self.
Well, that seems to be what's happened in a way.
Yes.
Um,
When the mind merges in the self, okay, then the mind is no longer perceived as separate from consciousness. In the awakened state, what happens is that when the mind is quiet, it merges in the self. It is there, it is conscious, it is awake, but it is totally still as it was in deep sleep.
yeah,
See? Only when the mind merges in the self, the thought I am the body disappears, right? And the self where the mind merges reveals itself as I.
yeah.
And
Just pure I.
I wouldn't call it pure because if I call it pure, I give it an attribute. See, consciousness for me simply is. It's neither pure nor impure. Some people speak about pure consciousness, but consciousness simply is.
Okay,
If I say pure, then I am giving a attribute. I am uh, saying that it has a characteristic or a quality, and it hasn't.
okay.
Mm.
So,
The experience is like this. Body activity simply happens spontaneously.
that's effortless. Everything goes on effortlessly. Yeah,
And if I need the thought process for the practicality of daily life, like you say, did I bring the key or left it on the table? Don't remember. Let me check. So
yeah,
this process is completely practical. It's completely pragmatic.
yeah,
Okay? And this thought process and this body activity no longer has the capacity to cover the fact that I am the self, and that all that is nothing but an effortless movement within
oh
my
yeah.
within
It
my
means nothing. It means the thought has no control over me whatsoever.
yes.
Well, over, yeah, none. It's means nothing.
It never had any control over you.
No, never did. Well,
It never. See,
yeah,
consciousness was always as it always is. See, consciousness is as it always is, not it was or it will
yeah,
be.
yeah,
Consciousness is always completely uncontaminated, uncorrupted, unaffected. There is no such thing as consciousness suffering from ignorance and now removing ignorance. That
yeah.
ignorance.
That's absolutely ringing true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Now the ego can disappear for a year or two even, But that doesn't say that it's not fully dead.
Okay.
Okay, if there are some tendencies hidden dormant, it will bring the ego back, right? And we shouldn't chant victory that quickly. So it's like, we shouldn't let this, even when this is direct knowledge, we shouldn't let direct knowledge to come to our head. See?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm okay there because I can get the feelings come up of, oh, and it's like I remember when the white light, when I had that Satori, I didn't even know what it was. I had to research it. Satori. It was like a flash of light, like a moonlight in my mind, and there was like light and gas, like. But I had other experience of bliss when it exploded in my head, and if I'd have died, I wouldn't have noticed. But I kind of thought, oh, is afterwards it was like I wasn't the light. Then there was just pure darkness with a thought floating around, and I wasn't the darkness either. And afterwards, I goes, am I different? I wasn't sure. And then it was like, oh, look, something happened. But I thought, no, no, something doesn't. I'll see. I'm okay there. I just want to be sure. I don't want to fuck around with this.
Yeah. So Satori is not a mind-blowing experience on a light or anything. Satori is another name for the self, which is absolute silence. See? It's absolute silence. Consciousness is absolute silence. The word bliss has been misinterpreted as happiness, when in reality is absolute silence, absolute peace, or beatitude, right?
I've had moments of that, but not lingering.
The self. See, one realizes that oneself is consciousness, and that consciousness is silence. See,
Yeah, there's been that's tried to come in now and again.
the existence, which is identical with consciousness, which natural state is Ananda, right? Silence. Sat Chit Ananda. So existence. So existence means one's own existence, one's own self is consciousness and is silence. This is why it is called empty, but it is not empty, right? It is empty of name, it is empty of form, characteristics, qualities, or attributes, right?
Well, there's a piece in that all them attributes are in the mind or the head
Oh,
area.
no, 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 no.
I don't know.
No, peace doesn't belong to the mind. The mind can be active or it can be still, right? So we shouldn't mix quiet mind with quietness. Silence is the self. The mind can be still, right? Or
Yeah.
active. But true silence is real silence is the self itself.
So I don't know about that part.
Okay. Then
Uh,
we have to check this out then.
yeah, check it out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just don't know what to do because normally when there was lots of thinking going on, I could work with that. It's easy to work with a crazy mind.
Well, you don't have to work the crazy mind. What is inquiry anyway? The inquiry is not the question, who am I? The question, who am I, is the intellectual aspect of the inquiry, how the inquiry is explained, but it's not how it actually works. Inquiry, you just bring the attention to the source of the mind, which is no other than oneself. Bringing the attention back to the source of the mind make us realize that we are the source of the mind or consciousness. That consciousness that is known as I or I am. So when the thought arises, Ramana says, see from where the thought arises. Don't follow them. Just see from where the thought arises. If you listen and study Ramana's words, for example, about how the inquiry works. He says, if we raise the question from where the thoughts are coming from, the logic answer is from me. Now, the next question is, who am I? So the intellectual aspect is telling me that I am the source of the mind because the mind arises from me, right? Now, when the question who am I arises, is not a question, but let's see, okay, myself, right? Let's see who am I. See, let me look at myself. Let me bring the attention to myself, to what I know already as I. This is when the mind dissolves in consciousness, and consciousness reveals itself because the mind is not there to cover it, to veil it. And then we realize that consciousness is nothing but silence. It is silent. It haven't said I ever, right? Even when the thought I arises from consciousness, consciousness doesn't say I. Ramana said, consciousness doesn't say I, the body doesn't say I, something in between appears as I. That which appears as I is the mind.
I can't get that, find that I to, uh, I, I just can't find the I. If a thought came up, it would be great, but I just can't get that.
Even if the ego is gone, you will have to refer yourself as the body without identifying yourself with it. Because if you're in the queue of the supermarket waiting for, I don't know, you may have a ticket to see, so the people in the bakery can say number 22, you will say I, right? Or me, right? There
So I don't know what to do, Caesar, here now.
there must have been a moment of clarity, but obviously the mind is already active, the intellect is already active, okay? And that by itself is what made you come here again, right?
Well, well,
Maybe,
I
maybe, maybe you didn't have direct access, the way to contact directly Carl Renz, or maybe you didn't have the possibility to talk directly with Gangamira, but
no, no,
you know that you can contact me anytime because you have my details and that.
yeah. So,
I'll,
like,
I'll explain
uh,
to you my own experience, right?
yeah,
In my case, there was no doubt I am that. There was no doubt. Okay. I met this man in India when some moment of clarity, but not total clarity, had happened in Ramana Maharshi ashram, right?
but their
Then,
body dissolved, didn't it?
yeah, there was a loss of body consciousness and all that.
Yeah.
Then he said to me, bring the attention from the seen to the seer. The seen will disappear, the seer will disappear, and what remains is the act of seeing as simply being, right? When seeing means consciousness, see, being consciousness. And I went to a quiet place in the afternoon and I did it. And something arose from within, kind of a energy vortex, if you wish, and it absorbed the thought I,
The vacuum, is that?
kind of a vacuum, like an energy vacuum. Vroom. Okay,
Yeah,
if I can
yeah.
describe it somehow, okay, somewhere here at the right side of my chest. Okay, and the thought I simply was gone, and it became obvious. I
But
am, I am
could
that.
you find could that? Yeah, sorry, that you said I am that. Yeah,
Yes, but I knew it without saying it or without thinking. Obviously, that knowledge will appear in the mind, but it's not of the mind, right? The knowledge I am that is called wisdom, which substitutes ignorance, which is the thought I am the body. And both thoughts are reflection of the self. One in the form of ignorance and the other one in the form of wisdom, right? And it was obvious I am that. There was no, the last trace of doubt, there was nothing because the self is self-evident. It doesn't need anybody to confirm that it is, right? But my teacher was sitting somewhere and he was witnessing what I was doing the inquiry, right? The ecstasy comes after the knowledge. When I know I am that, there is nothing. When I think, obviously, naturally, I am that, okay? There is a joy, there is ecstasy, fantastic. It's a mental interpretation or it's an experience comes out of a mental interpretation that eventually also passes by, okay? When I left the mandir and I saw my teacher there and he said to me, why are you so happy? And I couldn't give an answer. Then he said to me, what were you doing? And I could come up with something. I said, I was doing nothing. I was just there sitting with myself, just being myself. Then he said to me, do you see that if you are serious enough, in a split second, we have a glimpse of reality? He mentioned the word glimpse because it was a glimpse. Because the ego came back. In which way? In the most horrible way. I realized the self, right?
Oh.
Because the experience is interpreted mentally, but then one may develop an identity with the interpretation and we lose track of
So
what.
I've interpreted it. So
No, it can be interpreted, but we can identify oneself with interpretation, right?
mhm,
And then we overthink about it. And
mhm.
then that becomes again a mental me, right? The me becomes the experiencer of that.
The knower of that. Yeah, yeah.
It can't be. Even though one can have a glimpse of the self, which is the enduring background of silence, the experience is real, but it seems that the ego has it. Because I believe that I am the ego, when I look at the self, I objectify the self. This is why people say at the beginning, oh, it is empty. Sorry, first it is there, right? But it is like an object that the subject ego is knowing. But then we say, hold on a second, it's not an object because I don't see any form. It has no form. And then people say it is empty or emptiness. But then the seer of that disappears in that. And then it reveals itself as it actually is, as I. No? But again, every time the self reveals itself, it's absolute clarity. There is no question about anything. The knowledge of being the self is, there is no doubt, there is no confusion, because the confused one, there is nobody there to raise the question if it is there or not, if it is real or not. It's just not there.
Well, I don't have any confusion here.
Hmm.
That I'm really trying to be honest now because like there was no load of thoughts coming up, to contact Caesar, that wasn't happening. It just happened without thinking about it. And I'm not trying to be in a place, an enlightened place or something.
Yeah, but you said I don't want to fuck around with this knowledge. See,
Well, yeah, I just want to be
you are looking for a,
clear.
you're looking still for something. It's like you still apparently need something for that to become settled.
Well,
settle down, to become
what I could say is that there's no disillusion of the body, and there's no feeling that I'm one with the world and the universe. That isn't the case.
that must be the case. In that
That
is,
is
you
no,
see, that must be so. If I am seated here,
no, it's not the case here anyway. I mean,
as I am seated here, I know that the only real thing is I. What is real is I. And that I is the one that is, I as consciousness is the one that is aware of all this. But in that perception, if I may call it that way, all this, you don't see the frontier between I and this. So I is this and this is I. My experience was confirmed by a book called Ribu Gita. Ribu Gita, half of the book says, I am not this, I am not this, I am pure consciousness. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am the self, I am not this, I am, and goes on for a long time. I am not this, I am not this. Then it changes the way of expressing itself. All what he referred himself, I am not this, he will say, I am this too, I am this too, all this is consciousness, or this is I. Because that's the whole point of non-duality. Non-duality means there is no second anything separate from I. There is not two. I am the one without a second. There is a duality or non-duality, which is a relative non-duality, which is mental, right? If it is
but
mental,
there'll always be duality.
no, no, no. There was never duality. Duality would never exist. Duality is only a thought.
Okay.
Duality appears when the mind appears. I am the body, I am the subject, right? And everything else is outside of me, separate from me. It is other. There is I and the other. That is duality. I and you. That's the mind. I and you.
Are
Non-duality
you
is I.
when you say I, do you mean a thought coming up I, or
Yes.
do you mean
The
feeling?
thought, the thought I, when
But
I is
the thought I, but the thought I doesn't come up, Caesar. That's the thing. It doesn't happen.
yeah. Let me put it in this way. This is why it's called the I thought, because this I is a thought. That thought is I am the body.
I know, but you mean the feeling I'm the body, or the thought coming up that scene I'm the body?
No, no. The thought I am the body, not body.
That doesn't have to. That doesn't happen.
Okay, good, good. But I insist, is the I am the body idea is not present. Nothing is perceived as oneself.
Okay, well, I have to say there is a feeling of the body. I can't say I am the body. That doesn't happen, but there's a feeling of the body here.
Nothing wrong of the feeling. The feeling of the body means you feel the body.
Yeah,
There is body consciousness.
yeah,
Okay, because there is
yeah,
awakening state, and the mind is awakening state. The mind is awake,
yeah.
right?
That's how that's how it's known that the body is there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the body is a thought. So perception is only the mind. The perception is the gross aspect of the mind. Thought is the subtle aspect of the mind. It is also an object, but it is subtle. It's not tangible, right?
Or you can't see it like.
Yeah, you can see it. So I can see it. So the I cannot be the mind, and I cannot be the body. I must be no other than consciousness. Now, again, I insist, okay,
Yeah.
that in one's natural state, the world is not perceived as other. but also as oneself. You can look for confirmation in Ramana's book if you wish. It is very explained there, very well explained there.
Hmm.
See,
Okay.
when the scripture says or the sage says that consciousness doesn't know anything, only itself, it refers to the manifestation. It doesn't see anything, it sees only itself. When you see yourself in the mirror, what do you see?
Okay. Yeah.
What do you see?
I see a good-looking man. No, I see myself. I
You
see
see
myself.
yourself.
Yeah.
Now, so which one is you? Both are you. One is real and the other one is an optical illusion, right? But it is
Yeah.
still you see yourself, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you see is nothing but yourself. Because there is no longer the ego means the idea that oneself is limited only to this body. When body identity disappears, you are everybody.
And there's no doubt whatsoever.
There is no doubt whatsoever.
Okay.
Imagine that you, the same analogy of the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that the mirror is beginningless and is endless. And in that mirror is projected the entire manifestation, including that little body. If you don't identify yourself with that little body, right? Who are you in the reflection? Everything. If when I see myself in the mirror, okay, I see nothing but myself. If I see the reflection in the mirror, if I see nothing but myself, if I don't identify myself with this body, and the rest of the world is projected on the mirror, I am everybody. I am all. I alone am. See? I am the one without a second. That is no longer a second one. It's also myself. The Vedas also said so. As long as you see the manifestation of the world as separate from consciousness, you call it ignorance, maya, illusion, world, or whatever it is. If you don't see the illusion separate from reality, it is reality, it is the self. This is the so-called the vision of oneness. See?
Mm.
That is the non-dual perception, the non-dual knowledge. Right? Nothing. If I identify myself with the body, then everything is outside, everything is other, everything is different, everything is separate. Right? If I don't identify myself with the body, everything is I.
So how to break the body identification?
Body identification is the thought I am the body. Is the body is
That,
the
that thought doesn't come up. Like, I really am stuck with this, and I knew I would be.
now what happened is that the mind, as far as I'm concerned, the mind is back, but it is in a very subtle way.
God.
Otherwise, otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, this conversation would have never occurred.
Well, yeah, well, I'd be that type anyway, you know. I keep asking to be sure.
No, you don't have to ask the questions. We don't have to do anything. See, if I do something, I will do it with my mind, right? I cannot work the mind. I cannot work out the mind with the mind. Oof. It's in,
I'm absolutely in limbo because I can't use the mind. Even meditating is useless because I'm going, what? There's nothing to do. Absolutely zero.
yeah, but you may be identifying with that thought. That's what I'm trying to say. With the I that says so, and that is the mind.
Okay.
You may check this out later, okay?
Hmm. Yeah.
You may check this out later because, again, one may have a glimpse, right? But then there is a mental movement around and about it. And we may tend to identify oneself again as someone or no one. And the mind can say, there is no mind, there is this, what I doesn't arise, and all that stuff. All that, even we get over even one's own self-awareness. It's no longer important. It's not important. It's not special. It's called one's natural state, not supernatural state or a special state.
Mm.
But as far as I'm concerned, my experience said so, and it is confirmed, for example, by Ramana's words and so on. It is just silence, it's absolute silence. In deep sleep, what is there in deep sleep? Nothing, but there is I. And how we normally describe deep sleep? See, we call it even. See,
Yeah. Well, if you want to compare it to deep sleep, it's not that like.
it's absolute. In deep sleep, there is nothing but silence. There is nothing but peace. And that peace is the self that remains, is the natural state of the self or consciousness that remains when everything else disappears. It's not the darkness of the mind, the ignorance, but the silence where the darkness and the ignorance exist. Unfortunately, Anand has been translated as happiness, where it is peace, silence. When I is recognized as a silent existence.
Okay.
Right? Even Ramana call it sometimes the background of silence. He said, for example, what happens if the mind doesn't stop? Okay, it doesn't matter. It must be functioning on a background. Then he said, look at the background and the mind will not bother you. And the background is the background of silence, which is consciousness. Happiness is the byproduct of knowing oneself as that. Of not being limited to the body, of being immortal, beginningless, endless, right? So that
Mm.
knowledge gets reflected in the mind, but it's not of the mind. The mind is quiet, it is still, but it's not, this is not real silence because when it gets active, that silence disappears. So silence that appears and disappears cannot be real. So real silence is permanent.
Well, it's silent all the time, and a thought will come up. It doesn't matter, like when the thought happens. Um,
The mind, remember, the mind can be still or active. The mind cannot be silent. See, silence is exclusive of the self.
Okay. Silence is exclusive from the mind.
Yeah, silence is the self.
Okay.
It's the exclusivity of silence belongs to the self consciousness. The mind is either active or is still. So I'm not saying that this is your case, but some people mistake quiet mind with the self. A quiet mind leads to the knowledge of the self. When the mind is still, then this background of silence shows up. It becomes obvious, evident. But again, because the mind is not there, apparently the mind says, oh, it is there, right? But it is there as an object seen by the mind. But it says, no, it's not an object because it has no form. So it is empty. It is emptiness. Then the seer of the self disappears in the self because because in reality we are seeing oneself as that. But because
Well,
we believe
there's seeing, but there isn't a seer. Like,
no. There is this is what we have to check out. I believe I am the ego, and then I believe that I see the self. But I, as a seer of the self, will disappear, and the silence that I see is what I am. I'm seeing myself. See, this is self awareness, self knowledge, self realization. Then the I is knowing I by being I, not knowing it in a subject object relationship, but by being it. I know that I am because I am, right? So knowing I am or knowing the self is being it. So the seer of that also disappears, or the idea of being the seer of that. This is what we have to check out. So the sense of separation from that is actually gone when there is no seer of that, because there is I and that. Even in the statement, I am that, still there is a subtle sense of duality. The truth is that alone is.
mhm.
And there is nobody that says so. That alone is. And when it is said that alone is, includes everything. If I say I am that, but not this, we still have two. That and this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And eventually, we don't say anything anymore. No one is interested in saying anything to anyone about this. I never had the inclination to speak with anyone about this. I never said to anyone when I was living in India, I realized the self. I never had the inclination to share this with anyone. Even when my teacher told me to do so, I rejected. So no, I'm not gonna do it. I remember it as it was yesterday. But again, I have to make a quote here. The ego kept on coming back. Okay, because some tendencies basically the spiritual ones, the good tendencies, okay, mix with only one in particular that we might consider material, but it was like a mix with the spiritual, like the spiritual partner, right? Right? That doesn't exist.
Mm.
So only when all that disappeared completely, when he took me like a maraca and nothing sounded, right? Because there was no longer a seed inside. Then he said, "You go out and speak with the people. I am too old and too tired." I remember, like, as it was yesterday again, I went to his room. It was satsang time, and he was very old, and he needed to be held by the hand to walk to the veranda of his room to give satsang, right? And then I remember he was sitting on his bed, kind of waiting for me. And then I look at him and I notice, oh man, poor man is already, see. And he said, he read my mind. I said, yes, yes, I am so old and so tired. Even doing nothing, I get tired. And he laughed, right? I said, you can go out and take over, right? It's not that I was a chosen one. I was just there at that time. Okay. Then Then I said, no, 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 I'm not doing that. Right? He said, why you don't want to do that? Okay, well, this is a old man with more experience than old folks. And I had to come up with something, right? And I said, well, if they don't want to see me, they want to see you. You are Mr. Radan Lal, I am Mr. Nobody. And then he came quiet and said, okay, 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 let's do something. Let's go out together. They can see me, but you can answer the questions, right? Well, and he said, come, let's go. Take my things and let's go. His things were the walking stick and his glasses, and he used to chew some mincy. We felt that he died from cancer, and his
Oh,
throat was always bothering him, right? And then we came out together, and I used to sit beside him, and he said, "Any questions?" Say, "Okay, Cesar, answer the questions." So he will eventually, or now and then, add something or whatever, or pass a comment, but that's it. And then this is how it started. even though, even though, after some time, I said, "No, I'm going. I'm leaving." See, where are you leaving? Where are you going? I say, "I'm going to South Africa." And he said, "You are young and stubborn, right? It seems that you have to see by yourself that the best thing that you can do is this." So I tried not to do this many times, and here I am. Even I try to do this and free myself from donations or to have a job or whatever, nothing. Whatever I try to do apart from this, it just doesn't happen. Like Carl says, that at the beginning, when he didn't wanted to do this, he will suffer from terrible headaches, and he will only go when he will accept, okay, what's the matter? See, what's your dilemma? So there are two types of ego, the spiritual ego. One based in only bookish knowledge, and the other one is based on direct experience. And one of the forms that the ego takes is the urge to speak about this, to share my experience, my knowledge, the love to spread it, all that stuff. In reality, we say, how can we say this? Okay, and to whom? It's like I never, for years, after I begin to talk about it publicly and blah blah blah, you are sitting there, you're going to be exposed to any kind of questions, and the question will arise, do you realize the self? Blah blah blah. And sometimes I answer in the same way my teacher used to answer. If I say yes, I lie. If I say no, I lie. If I say yes, I lie because the self is already self-realized, right? So if I say yes, I lie because the ego cannot realize the self. And if I say no, I lie because the self is already self-realized. Or one can say, because just to satisfy imagine that, just to satisfy somebody's curiosity, right? Yes, I realize the self, but I don't consider myself a self-realized being. That would be totally stupid.
Yeah, it's a slippery thing.
I'm saying, listen, there, there are these cases are one in a trillion, like Ramana Maharshi, that the ego disappeared and never come back, never came back. In most of the cases, it comes back. Okay, in most of the cases, it comes back, and when it comes back, it is mostly with the idea of the experiencer of enlightenment and the description of being like this or like that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it is bad or a sin, but it, it normally happens that way. If you read a book from Leslie Kernelsen, who was the devotee of Ramana, there is a chapter in the book called Obstacles and Traps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it says that perhaps the last trap it is hidden within the same experience of uh, the self. When the mind claimed to be the experiencer of the self.
But if it's before the mind, sure, it should be obvious that the mind can't claim it. Like,
No, that's why it is there, because it's not that obvious. If it is obvious, it will arise and it will disappear. It will take that form and it will disappear.
hmm. So,
Another tendency to speak about this.
so will I stay with the sense if I am or something or what, Caesar?
Okay,
Like,
okay. I'll explain to you. When the ego is gone, means it merged in the self. If see, if I have a handful of sand and I throw it in the sea, will this sorry, salt. If I have a handful of salt and I throw it in the sea, does the salt disappear?
no,
Yes. What happened with the salt?
it just melted
It just melted. Where? From,
into the ocean.
from where it came from, right?
Okay, where it came from. I didn't know you took it out of the ocean. Go on.
But why the hell did it went out? Right? So it is with the mind.
That's how analytic I am. Like, go on.
So,
Uh,
so it is with the mind. So the mind disappears means it dissolves in consciousness. Now, how the mind remains dissolving consciousness as a very subtle sense of self. But the self or consciousness is beyond that sense of self,
okay.
right? Is that which knows the sense of self, which knows the mind. Now, if the mind needs to be used, okay, then it will operate, right? One will not lose the capacity to think. One will not lose the memory, the capacity to feel. It's just that the I am the body idea goes out, see, from the thought process. Even if we refer ourselves as I for the practicality of the matter, okay, because if I'm going out of my house, my wife will ask me, where are you going? I will say, I am going to the car because I forgot some papers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I will refer myself as the body, knowing I am not the body, like an actor on the stage.
Well,
That
that's kind of what I do, like, and I'm not trying to, you know,
yes.
I that's what happens here, like.
Okay.
Um,
It's like an actor. See, on the stage and say, I am Romeo, what's the matter? Right? But you know that you are not the role you play, right? You are just acting. You're just playing your part, that's all.
yeah.
And when the theater performance finishes, you don't go on, I am Romeo, I am Romeo. You forget about it. When this how long ago this happened?
Well, it's been this way. It's kind of like this is how it's been for a long time, except the mind came in. I mean, 10 years ago, I had that wake up call with Jackie O'Keefe. I think I went to see her. Um,
How is she? Have you seen him again?
huh?
Send my regards to her when you see her.
I will, yeah. Yeah, she was on the show there as well. Yeah, I will. Jackie's great.
Hmm.
Um, but this total no mind thing has gone on since Carl. That's about a month now, 3 weeks.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
It's about a month or 3 weeks. This,
Yeah,
this thoughtless state.
yes. See, okay. You use that word, thoughtless state.
I don't know what word to put on it,
That's fine.
Caesar.
That's
I'm
fine.
to,
The,
like
the thoughtless state, the self is thoughtless, always.
right. Okay, that's what it's like.
Yeah. The mind is thought, and even if it is not thinking, it is there in a very subtle way,
Okay,
which
like
is
the soul. Yeah. Okay.
like a mere sense of self, okay? Kind of a feeling, I or I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
self as such is
There's a feeling that I am. Yeah.
yeah, the self is beyond that.
Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Sure. It doesn't matter anyway. I mean, I can't get it wrong. So,
Well,
well, can I? Yeah, you
most
obviously.
recognize yourself as what is beyond the feeling I am, which natural state is silence.
Okay. Okay.
One must recognize oneself as that. And we
Okay.
recognize oneself as that, as holding to this, either, either holding to the feeling I am, or to look into the source of that, even that feeling, because that feeling was not there in deep sleep.
Yeah.
And in deep sleep, I am. So I must be beyond even that, right?
Sagradata says, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it is called what sees. I used to like it sometimes, what sees. What sees, even that uh, this is the subtlest form of the mind. Okay? This is how it arises. Okay, that's the first modification, and then it turns into the thought, I am the body, right? In Sagata used to call it consciousness, but that is a word choose by the translators of the book, not by him, because he didn't wrote anything. So they use the word I am for consciousness, but this is mind. And then it turns into I am the body. See? The mind arises, the mind manifests all this, and then identify itself with each form that it manifests. So the first thing that arises is this, let's call it notional I, because it's like a notion more than a thought, right? And when it arises, the word arises. When there is body consciousness, then the thought, I am this body, appears. But no one speaks about it. People call the mind the thought, I am the body, which is true, because the other one is a pure reflection, is pure light.
So it's like it's all grace from now on.
Sorry?
It seems to be all grace from now on.
Grace has been always there all along. Grace is another name for the self. There was no moment when grace was not present.
Okay.
Even samadhi is a mental state.
Really.
Yes, it's a non-differentiation state. The self is beyond differentiation and non-differentiation, beyond duality and non-duality, beyond dyads. See, duality, non-duality, differentiation, non-differentiation. This is when the object merges with the subject. When the object merges with the subject, then the subject merges in consciousness. The samadhi means non-differentiation. See, the seer is not doesn't feel separate from the seer, and the seen becomes one. But still, we have the seer and the seen, right? From the consciousness point of view, the seer and the seen are consciousness too. So, from the consciousness point of view, there is nothing but itself.
But how can you how, but there's no differentiation then. I mean, how
When the mind is merged completely, the idea of differentiation of this is or non-differentiation will simply not arise. The sages uses these terms just for the sake of deliverance to explain, right? That's all.
that's why it can't be known,
What is
obviously.
the idea of differentiation and non-differentiation and samadhi and so on in deep sleep? They are not.
And it can't be known or not known then. I mean,
Exactly. So this is why it's called one's natural state is a state where no thought arises. When even we are not interested in this anymore. Yet, we may read about it or speak about it, but we are no longer interested in this anymore. We speak about this with people that are interested, not with curious, with people that are interested. And because we know what we speak about, say, why not? Right? If you have a question and I have the answer, why shall I deny it to you? But I'm not interested to talk about this with anyone. I don't mind to talk about this with anyone. Right? I will happily do it until the exhaustion, until the person understands or it is satisfied, or until we both get tired of it. Another way to put it is that we know that everything is an illusion, and yet we cannot get rid of it because it is inseparable from oneself. And then the
But
only
I can't get rid of it, and the sense of time is gone.
yes,
There's
yes,
no,
the
yeah.
second time is in that moment there is no time. In the moment of clarity, there is no time. What I'm saying is everything is an illusion. The only thing that is real is I. And yet I cannot get rid of the illusion because the illusion is not separate from me.
Yeah.
Therefore, there is no illusion and I. Even the illusion is I.
No
This is
way out.
this is what you're missing there.
Yeah. There's no way out, no way in. It's
No way
dead
out. This-
deadlock.
No. So the self cannot free itself from anything, doesn't need to free itself from anything, including the illusion, because it's inseparable, it is also itself. So the only one that has a problem with illusion is the illusion, and the one who wants to get rid of the illusion is part of the illusion, which is me.
Oh man, that is a fuck up.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is like, I mean,
Oh my God.
yeah.
So we are the illusion and we are the reality. See, we rise as ego, and yet we remain as consciousness. Haha. Who can understand that? How can you explain this to anybody? This is that's one of the reasons why I stopped traveling, right? I'm not doing this anymore
I could see why. Yeah.
because, yeah, this new age stuff and all these hundreds of people or something. Who cares how many people are there? Who is understanding a thing? Nobody. Only few, right? A full hand of them. So if they want, let them come. Or let them, people can come home. See, I still can talk to people if they come to my house. They can sit here and because after the pandemic and the world crisis and all that, so all this Zoom or YouTube or video, whatever, was an alternative, right? But the norm was presential, physical, right?
Mm.
Now the main thing is Zoom, and people coming here is a choice, right? And because now this is the age of internet thing and all that stuff, and everybody wants everything straight away and have access, and this became the norm. And like
Mm.
this is not, it's very different than if the person is here.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see Carl on a video or a video call or whatever, but when you are sitting there, there is something else.
It's different, totally different, man.
It-
Energy
it-
going off, power fucking things and all sorts of shit going on. Yeah.
yeah. So it is
It,
when people come here, people that has been attending satsang online and they come here say, wow, this is way different. Right? It is.
yeah, yeah.
So as long as we see the world as the other, the mind is there. Because mine is I and the other. So this will go on working for the practicality of daily life, but you know that such thing doesn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, there's no interest much in stuff, totally seeing that no satisfaction. Like yourself, tremendous suffering and stuff like that brought me on the path. And then I went back into business like yourself with the restaurant, and then it was like I was kicked into touch again by life, back into the fuck this, what's it all about again?
Sorry, I missed the last part.
I went on, it's tremendous suffering brought me on the path, the story yourself. And but there seems to be no satisfaction in anything, Caesar.
There is none. See,
No.
all satisfaction is temporary satisfaction. Now that you mentioned Carl, I can quote a little bit what he said. Satisfaction means satisfaction, right?
Fiction, yeah.
It's a fiction because it is temporary. So everything in this world is temporary. There is nothing that can last forever here. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a nice cup of coffee, okay, but how long the flavor of the coffee will last on your tongue? For a while.
That's happening constantly. So I have a drink of coffee, it's there, it's gone, this is gone, it's there, it's gone, it's gone, it's there, it's gone. I'm going, fuck this, you know?
Yes. So the only satisfaction is self-satisfaction. Real satisfaction is self-satisfaction in the sense that the self is always satisfied with itself.
Hmm.
It doesn't have the sense of feeling of lacking. It is actually the whole universe is the self. So what is the self lacking?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
You become aware of the fact even before awakening, because this realization of the limitation of everything is what leads to self-realization.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sex, okay, fantastic. How long does it last?
yeah,
Half hour if you're lucky, right?
yeah,
But we want to prolong it, right?
yeah.
So how? I want more. Means by the means of desire. So the experience leaves an imprint. The imprint develops the tendency, the predisposition, I want more. If it is nice. If it is less, I want less or I don't want it at all. And this is how the mind begins to move, right?
Mm,
More of this, less of that, none of it. More of this, I want more or I want to prolong it. I want to give continuity to keep it. And you can't,
no,
right?
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And
Yeah.
then what is left? You remain self-aware, which is total satisfaction.
If
And
if you're
it's,
lucky to hear that message, though, if you're lucky to hear it, though, yeah.
and if something nice presents itself, then you enjoy it for as long as it lasts.
Mm,
Something not nice happens by itself, then you bear it for as long as it lasts. There is no choice. There is no escape.
it's like driven home by samsara. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I go to your house and you're like, remember, you live in Dublin? No, you live in
Kerry, Caesar. Yeah.
no, you saw me when I went to
You
Ireland, right?
you were you were in Cork in Marion's. I was thinking tonight, Marion. Remember Marion?
Yeah, of course I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
I was in Dublin, I was in Cork, and I was in Waterford also.
Oh, Waterford. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think Denise, I think, was the host.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if in Dublin you take me to this wonderful restaurant called Cornucopia, I don't know if you heard of it.
Still there. Yeah, yeah. Still there. Yeah, yeah,
It's still there, yeah. So the
yeah.
food is fantastic. So if you take me there, I will say, no, 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 this is too tasty. I will not eat here. Give me something more crappy, right? So
Yeah.
if I go to your house and well, this is nice, right? But this overreaction about it, it will not be there. Like this is just the mind making an interpretation, and it's no longer enjoying the food. It's enjoying its own fantasy thought that is creating around and about what is just there.
Yeah.
So if something is nice, it's nice. If the weather is nice, it's nice, right? Is you have by chance, by destiny, actually a comfortable life, then it is pleasant, so you enjoy it, right?
And it's a bit like with every experience, even eating a sweet or or watching a fantastic movie or a concert, it's like or something, some experience. It's like there's always a constant something, but there's no experiencer, but there's just experiences. But you know they're fleeting. But in the moment of that experience, is it really an experience? I'm wondering then. Do you know what I mean?
It isn't. It isn't. And an experience demands the presence of the experiencer.
Hmm.
It is, but we cannot call it experience anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, sensory perception is there. You go to a concert and it can be pleasant, the music, or can be quite unpleasant, right?
Mm.
Because bang, 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 bang. For after 30 seconds, my head is just bang. Right? And if I can go out, I go, right? So with ego or without ego, this will remain. Pleasure and pain, gain and loss, success and failure, praise and criticism, and birth and death. With or without ego, that will be that. You just don't care anymore. And if you care, like Carl says, I would, you brought him into the picture, so I quote him. If you care, you don't care that you care.
Yeah. Well, that happened this morning. I had a storm and it blew my new shed worth 200 euro around the place and it was smashed up. And I just went out and I thought, fuck it. And it was like, no big deal. It was like, what could you do? Like, it's not important. What's the most important thing is this. So maybe somebody else wants to come in to chat
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, maybe somebody from the Spanish group. Yeah.
Thanks, Caesar.
You're welcome, for God's sake. So
Yeah.
you're welcome. You know now the schedule, and whenever you want, you just show up.
Yeah. I'll show up. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I didn't know you're doing Zooms because Carl did mention in the talk that you were in Venezuela. He was wondering how you're doing on, how you're getting on.
How was it? Did he say something? What?
Yeah, he said, what someone mentioned you. He
Ah,
said, how's they're doing? Someone must have been there that knew you. And he said, oh, he's having a tough time. In other words, existence is kicking you around a bit, kind of
yeah,
thing. That's what he kind of said. But he's got time for you. I thought, yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah,
true. Yeah, a nightmare since then. But it's okay. What to do? So that's the way it is, and we deal with
yeah,
it accordingly, right? So
yeah.
yeah, but most people don't even know that I keep on talking to. Some people call me, Cesar, are you still giving this? Yes, of course, as usual, from Wednesday to Sunday. I don't know why.
I didn't know either, and it's not on your website. I tried to find it there.
No, all that is gone.
Oh, okay.
All that is
Must be.
gone. I just got fed up with it. I'm not doing this. I say, it's not that I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this way. Right? If anybody wants to talk, let them find me. And all this,
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
yeah, it's not that I was doing it the other way around, but somehow all this movement grew up and all that stuff. And I said, oh God,
Mm.
travel and everybody, he, ha, ha, ha. The people think it is about that. And just talking, it becomes like a spiritual coffee shop conversation. I'm not interested. Right?
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the fanatism, right? Everything is around and about Caesar and not about the knowledge itself, right?
You could end up like Eckhart Tolle.
Ah, no thanks, no thanks, no,
No,
no, whatever that means.
I,
See,
I agree.
this format that grew up, this format grew up, I would say, as a way to copy Papaji's way of doing it, that it was not his way of doing it. People build it up around him. The stage, the chair, the microphones, and all that stuff. Even Papaji got tired of that and sent all that to hell. Somebody, the one that built the hall, is, if I remember correctly, if the story is true, said, all what I did for you, blah, blah, blah. And Babaji says, you take all this and shove it in your ass. Goodbye. I didn't put a foot in that hall ever again. And many people went away and he was attending people somewhere and in the house or something like that. Gangamira may know more about it, right?
Yeah.
She was very much there. So all that began to be imposed to other people. When I came to me, I said, no, thanks. I said, this is going out of hand and this is not it. I'm gone. And I disappeared for 2 years and I came back.
Yeah. Mm.
I came back and the groups are smaller and all. That's okay. Uh, what represents more people there? More donations? So what? Right? Money, extra money that we'll never use because I don't use it because whatever I need, I get it, and that's all. It's just for basic needs. So is this about the money? No, the money is not the motivation. Maybe the kind of a consequence, but right.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And still, let's see, I was surprised when you asked me, how much shall I? I said nothing. I never charge for this. Donations are accepted because I need to feed myself, right, and my family and so on. But
I just think it's only right in a way, I just felt like, yeah, it's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's, I mean, I need of money. I have some friends. uh, I develop friendships with some people, and I say, listen, do you mind? They may say yes, they may say no, but that's it.
Yeah.
So let's give a chance to the Spanish people. Can you hear me, John?
Hmm?
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see if somebody from the Spanish group may
Of
like.
course. Yeah. Fire away. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Send my regards to all the guys there. Uh, remember, I stayed in someone's house also. It was an old man, not old, but a senior, and I stayed in his house. Nice man, by the way.
Was it Tim?
Ah, yeah, Tim, exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
Tim.
Tim. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen Tim in years, I'd
I
say.
remember. I remember Bernie, of course.
Bernie. Yeah, she went to see you, she told me.
Yeah, yeah, she was here. We had a good time. Michelle, of course. Uh, remember Michelle from Dublin? From Dublin, she was also organizer. Uh,
Oh, Michelle. Yeah. Yeah. Michelle, psychotherapist, I think.
yeah, she's such a nice lady.
Lovely girl. Yeah.
Yeah, Denise from Waterford team. We went to a house. I don't remember this guy's name. He's kind of a hippie guy living in like still in the 60s. It was like a,
Was that Desi? Was he bald headed guy?
I don't know if he was bald. No, he's actually long hair. I don't know if it is bald here. It's a long hair. He was living basically like,
Oh, the guy saving the birds and the bees and all that
yeah,
stuff.
he had a wooden house in the forest and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I forget his name now. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, he's still around. Yeah, character.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. Okay. Okay. Send my regards to all if you see them. Okay.
I will see. I will.
And please, by all means, you're welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Let's see if you want to do the interview or whatever, and then we,
Yeah, we'll have to line it up. I left it. Can I ask you just a quick thing? I left it all go because, like you, it's a bit like, do I want to spread this message? And it's like,
yes, that's my point.
I was going to shut it down, to be honest.
No, if you still are interested, I'm here. If I have time, so why not?
Do you reckon? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.